Hello everyone and welcome back to TowerGate. It is day 190, September the 11th, 2017, Monday. Thank you so much for tuning in. Just checking out last night some of the video of Miami and some other places there in southern Florida. And of course most of Miami, as far as around the surrounding areas that are near the coastline, are pretty much underwater. But looking at some of the wind damage throughout in the areas beyond that, doesn't look as bad as it could have been. So I think if there was any positive side to it, you have to say that the fact that the wind damage didn't appear to be quite as bad as what it could have been. Of course, they build homes down in Florida a lot differently now to withstand the 120 mile an hour winds, which is what mainly they were looking at. So fortunately, when this hurricane hit the coastline, it wasn't put back in the 150, 160, 70 mile an hour winds. They were in the 100, 120. So that's very good. Still going to be a tremendous amount. Still will be a tremendous amount of devastation and a lot of problems there for some time to come. But I guess it could have been a lot worse. Haven't really heard much about the death toll. Probably won't start learning about that until the system has moved through and until they actually start doing rescue and recovery. At that point we'll find out, but hopefully the loss of life will not be that great. But it was a hell of a storm. It's still churning, and I imagine it's still raining. I expect they will take about another day and a half of that system to work its way through the rest of the state, and then of course the rest of us are going to be getting some rain in the days to come. It'll be nothing like what they had to deal with in Florida as a hurricane or even a tropical storm. But certainly we all have some weather to deal with this coming week. Probably be some tornado outbreaks and things like that. But hopefully we'll get through it. And that will hopefully be all of the hurricanes that hit landfall. Although, you know, hurricane season goes until like the end of November. So possible we could have some more, but hopefully they won't make landfall. And this will be it for the season. And hopefully everything will be all right. So anyway, if you're down there in Florida, hopefully you did well, given the circumstances, and everybody there is okay. Let's get to some TowerGate news, shall we? Well, the Rotten Reverend leads off the stories today, and it's, I know a lot of you think that I'm out here looking for these Rotten Reverend stories. I'm not. I mean, they're all over the place. I mean, I'm not even covering all of them, just some of them. It's because the Rotten Reverend continues to put herself out there, and there's no doubt in my mind why she's doing it. The Rotten Reverend has every intention of running for president in 2020. A lot of you are laughing at me. You think, nah, she's crazy. Oh, she is crazy, but she is definitely planning on running in 2020, I can assure you. She has a PAC set up. She's on her third book now since the election. She continues to go out there and put herself out there. She continues to make money, try to make money. She's continuing to court donors behind the scenes. She has every intention of running in 2020, but I'll tell you what, if her health allows her to even be healthy enough to run in 2020, she's going to get an even bigger embarrassment in 2020. She's not just going to lose to the president in the general election. She is going to lose in the primaries. I don't know who she'll lose to, probably everybody. I don't think she realizes how unpopular she is. But I've watched segments on the Jimmy Dore Show, Secular Talk, The Humanist Report, even TYT, the Young Turks, are even hitting Hillary in her book on what happened. CNN, even CNN is going cold on the Rotten Reverend. Nobody likes this woman, and they're liking her less and less every day. She's pissed off the party, big donors, and everyone else. Somehow she believes that she's still viable. I don't know what's going on in her mind other than the fact that she's nuts. And I've been making that case for quite some time. She is a lunatic. The Rotten Reverend. Another one of the, I watched this interview she did with Jane Pauley, so you don't have to. Believe me, it's hard. It's gut-wrenching to get through it. It's horrible. But I'll tell you, Jane Pauley, definitely a lefty, but I mean, she was reasonably tough on Hillary, and she didn't let Hillary slip off the hook. And a couple of times when she came back and ask a question that Hillary tried to spin out of, you could see Hillary looked at Polly with daggers. And Polly got just a taste of the type of attitude you get with Hillary Clinton when you accuse her of being wrong, making a mistake, or taking responsibility for anything for herself. And it was very interesting. She even has got that wandering eye thing going on one of her eyes. It's kind of freaky. So anyway, you can really see she's a very, very angry, confused, delusional woman right now. A demon, I should say. She's a confused, delusional demon. And I think Miss Polly got a little taste of why Hillary's so unpopular, what people see in her. The evil in this woman is unbelievable. And Jane Pauley got a taste of it. She made this statement. She said that Trump's inauguration speech was like an out-of-body experience, a cry from the white nationalist gut. This is a woman who is currently... She also said that she did not... Let's see, what else is it here? She also said she did not regret her deplorables comment to insult Trump supporters. In fact, she doubled down on it. Doubled down on the deplorables comment. So she is in the process right now. She called half the country deplorables that supported Trump. She has been attacking Bernie and the Bernie bros, the progressives. That's about 40% of her party, the other third of the country or so. She's attacked the women of the country who didn't vote for her. She's attacked the liberal media that carried the water for her. She's attacked everybody. Everybody. And she thinks she actually has a chance to be a viable candidate in 2020. Now, she says she's done with politics, but she's lying. She has every intention. She's going to start a fake AstroTurf draft Hillary campaign. That's what she's going to try to do. It's not going to fly. And I do predict her book will be a flop. And her speaking tour will be a flop. And don't know if this woman will ever go away, man. But she has got to be the most hated woman in America right now. Certainly. I've never seen anything quite like her. Never. Now, Trey Gowdy, the pitbull, says that there are lots of top figures in the FBI and DOJ who have been paid off. Lots of top figures in the FBI and DOJ who have been paid off. I'm not exactly sure what he means by that, but as we covered in last week's video, one of last week's videos, the pitbull, Trey Gowdy, has subpoenaed Sessions and Wray to come in and explain to him why they are refusing to allow certain individuals from the FBI and DOJ to testify in front of Congress, knowing good and well that Congress does have oversight authority over these agencies. He also wants to take them to task for not producing the documents that they're obligated to produce so that they can carry out their oversight duties. And it appears now he may want to have a conversation with them about who's being paid off. Top figures in the FBI and DOJ have been paid off. It's quite a statement to make by the pitbull. We'll see how that works out. ESPN, of course owned by Disney, is dragging down Disney stock. Probably has a lot to do with Disney's association with Hollywood as well. ESPN, of course, was the massive anti-Trump sycophants. You know, if they'd have just stuck to sports and stayed away from politics, but they couldn't bring themselves to do it. ESPN couldn't help themselves but get involved in the political side of things, and they are highly, highly anti-Trump, venomous anti-Trump over at ESPN. So my friends, do not buy Disney stock. It's going down the tubes. Walt Disney himself would be spinning in his grave. ESPN, right along with Disney. Again, this is just more evidence of what I've been telling you, that there are signs everywhere that the American people are voting with their pockets, with their wallets, they are voting with their feet, they are voting every way they can possibly vote to tell these anti-Trump haters how they feel. And believe me, they're going to get their opportunity in 2018 and 2020. And I believe the primary focus of their anger is going to be Republicans, anti-Trump Republicans. Next story, more proof of that. Charles Dent is the first major casualty. Charles Dent, a Republican from Pennsylvania, a blue state that Trump turned red. This anti-Trump Republican swamp monster says he will retire from Congress. This follows a rally where Trump supporters surrounded his congressional office to protest against his obstruction of the president's agenda. They're not even waiting until 2018 and 2020. They're coming after these guys right now. And this guy knows, Charles Dent, anti-Trump Republican from Pennsylvania, he knows his goose is cooked. He's probably got a cushy lobbying job waiting for him, so he's going to go ahead and cut out now. He's not even going to stick around for the abuse. I believe he will be followed by many others, and those who choose not to leave voluntarily, the voters will take care of them in 2018 and 2020. Believe me, there's a groundswell brewing. There is a storm brewing. And I'm just not talking about hurricanes. No. I'm talking about the ire of the country. And this includes quite a few Democrats who are observing the same thing. Angela Merkel being heckled like crazy everywhere she goes. And again, being hit with a lot of tomatoes. And she'll probably win because, again, that situation they have in Germany with the 4 or 5 parties, it gets the vote gets so diluted that the Christian Democratic Party still carries the most votes, and they're kind of like the establishment, blue hairs here in the country who go and religiously vote for corporate Democrats and Republicans because they've been doing it for 50 years and they don't know what else to do. They don't have the internet. They don't care. They don't know what's going on. They're absolutely clueless. They care about 2 things, and that's their next doctor's appointment and their Social Security check. Well, Angela Merkel will probably be elected for that reason, but what her term is going to be like after being reelected, I predict it's going to be very, very rough, to say in the least. Tony Blair, remember him? Yes, Tony Blair, a hardcore criminal, man. This guy is a hardcore criminal. He's out there now saying that the UK should ignore the Brexit vote and stay in the EU. Wow, you want to see a uprising in the UK? You want to see violence on the streets? You want to see blood on the streets? Go ahead and try that one, Mr. Blair. Tony Blair should be arrested. Actually, he's a major, major criminal, part of the axis of evil, and hard to believe that he's would say such a thing. And I haven't touched much on what's going on in the UK with the Brexit, but there's certainly powerful forces that are trying to undo the vote. But there's a lot of people on the street, a lot of people prepared to hit the street. There's a lot of people willing to fight and die for this cause, believe me. If I was Mr. Blair, who should also be investigated for crimes, he ought to shut the hell up and crawl back in his hole. He can't even really go back to the UK. I don't think he even lives there anymore. I think he's got a house there, or a place there, an apartment, whatever you want to call it. But he spends most of his time outside the UK. Anytime that guy is spotted in public, he is immediately surrounded by angry people who want to string him up. He's one of the most unpopular people in his own country. And this is one of the reasons why. He's a horribly corrupt criminal politician. And hopefully someday we'll see Blair face justice. He's a fairly young man. It may happen. Jim Jordan of the Freedom Caucus, one of our very best members of Congress, says, hey, he doesn't blame Trump for cutting the deal with Chuck and Nancy. He says we left them no option. You're absolutely right. But there's more to it than that. And that is the final topic that I want to touch on in this video today. A lot of people out there are trying to decipher, figure out what Trump's doing. He basically comes out on DACA and he kills DACA but says, yeah, but I'm going to give it 6 months. I'm going to let it ride for 6 months. I'm going to kill it, but it won't be dead for 6 months. So you've got 6 months, and then he looks at the Congress and says, you've got 6 months before this bill actually takes effect to fix it, to solve the problem of what to do with those 800,000 people who are here illegally. Then, of course, he's taken a hit because he got together behind the backs of Big Ears Eddie Munster Ryan and Twitch McConnell and cut the deal on the debt ceiling, which also gave him the relief money for the 2 hurricanes with Chuck and Nancy. This is a brilliant political move. A lot of people don't understand it right now, but I do understand exactly what he's trying to do here, and there's probably more to it than just what I understand, but I look at it the same way. Here's how I'm seeing it. The debt ceiling is a bullshit argument. The debt ceiling is only something that Republicans argue against, raising the debt ceiling when it's close to an election year, or when they want to come out and grandstand, knowing good and well that they're not going to win the argument because they have to raise the debt limit or they have to start cutting things. They're not going to cut anything. They've been doing this over and over for years and years and years. They always raise the debt ceiling. Always. Regardless whether it was Bush for 8 years, Obama for 8 years, Clinton before that, Bush before that, Reagan before that. It doesn't matter. They will always raise the debt ceiling because they will never ever cut anything. So this whole idea that Trump sold out on raising the debt ceiling is bullshit. It's bullshit, and I think most people know that. Most people know that's just typical neocons, establishment Republicans doing what they do. I wouldn't even say best, but it's doing what they do, which is just more of trying to play you for a sucker and a fool. Everyone knows these guys raise the debt ceiling regardless of who's president. They all complain about it, then they vote to do it. It's just politics. Trump understands that. He understands there's not a single one of them people from either side that are serious about reducing government. Trump himself is the one who's reducing the size of government. Trump himself is the one who is reducing the deficits. He's doing that through executive order and through his legislation that he can get passed, which isn't much. But this is the truth there. And he didn't want a big fight over getting the funding. He didn't want it to become a political football. He got Nancy and Chuck in the office, and he cut a deal. I would have cut the same deal. With the second hurricane on its way, the first hurricane, the money running out, would have run out on Thursday. He had to get the money. And the debt ceiling was going to be raised anyway. No harm done. I would like to see, I don't like the fact that the debt ceiling is going to be raised, but if there was any chance that there was a realistic opportunity that they wouldn't, that they would actually come forth with some real cuts, then I would have supported it. But there are never going to be any real cuts from either of these people, from the Republicans or Democrats, not the ones we have now. And so that was a red herring. And as far as the earthquake relief or the hurricane relief money, that is something he was not going to let be politicized. He was not going to get played on that issue at all. He made the right move. That was the right call. But it goes deeper than that, because he's also working on this DACA. The way he handled that was beautiful, because what he did, first of all, you have to understand, Trump, of course, campaigned, throw all the illegals out, build the wall. Well, Trump understands his base, and Trump understands that his base knows, yes, we need to build the wall. We need to stop the bleeding, stop any more of the massive amounts of millions of people a year pouring into the country, draining our social services, causing increase in taxes to cover all of that, lowering incomes, doing all these things, that causing lots of crime and all this. Trump wants that wall, and he's going to get his wall, believe me, and this is how he's going to do it. But he also understands that there's an awful lot of illegals who were brought in the country when they were children, many of them infants or whatever. There's 800,000 of them here. His main concern is not so much those people, only the criminal element. He is going to cut a deal where he allows all those dreamers to stay in this country as long as they do not have a criminal record. Only the criminals will be deported, and that's a deal that the Democrats will go along with. And he knows it. He knows they have to. He knows that they can't defend allowing the criminal element of these people to stay in the country. He's going to win that fight. And he's also going to pick up a lot. He got 29% of the Latino vote. He's going to get even more when he signs the Dreamer Act that'll be put together mainly with Democratic votes. There'll also be some Republicans jumping on that ship who are in districts where there's a high Latino population, because Trump is in touch with the American people, and he knows that the average American says, look, these people are here. They shouldn't have got here the way they did, but a lot of these people are here. These people work hard. Most of them are good people. They have bad circumstances. As long as they're not guilty of any crimes, let them stay. Find a way to make them legal, get them paying taxes, and allow them to become citizens. I have no problem with that. You know, it's compromise. You got to use some practicality here. And that's exactly what he's going for. In the meantime, as part of that, he's going to say, as part of that, he's going to attach the wall funding to that bill. Trump is going to get his wall. He's going to kick out the criminal illegal aliens and allow the ones who are law-abiding citizens to become legal. And it's going to be a huge, huge political win. At the same time, he puts tremendous pressure on Republicans, particularly those who are anti-Trumpers. And you notice he pushed it back 6 months. Why is that? Because that's right in the middle of the primaries. Right when all these Republicans are out there trying to get reelected. Many of them are already on record, on a position. Many of them are going to be forced to spin and lie. He's setting them up. Brilliant political move on the part of President Trump. As far as his dealing with Schumer and Nancy, he's going to deal with them a lot more too, because he realizes that the Never Trump Republicans, particularly led by Twitch McConnell and Big Ears Ryan, are going to do everything they can to destroy any possibility of his legislative agenda being a success or him being reelected. They want him thrown out. They want him defeated by a Democrat, probably Hillary, in 2020. They probably voted for Hillary, both of them, be my guess. But Trump is basically embarrassed them big time. He also understands that in 2018, the real hardcore Obama taxes hit, the hardcore Obamacare increases hit, and just like he said, Democrats will be begging him to work on something to fix the problem. Republicans, specifically the leadership, will be in a very, very difficult situation because they failed after promising for 7 years to repeal and replace. This is going to be one of the major issues. A lot of these guys are going to be tossed. They're going to find themselves in a very difficult circumstance, and Trump is going to find himself as the kingmaker, holding all the cards. He will be able to play these Republicans and Democrats off of one another to get the healthcare system fixed, because they will all be sweating bullets as the most painful part of the Obamacare hits home in 1818, right around tax time, right around primary time. I'm telling you, this man's a genius politically. It's funny because the Democrats and Republicans in the swamp thought, hey, here comes a political amateur. We're going to be able to play this guy. We're going to play this guy to death. He's not going to believe how we're going to play him and straighten him out because he doesn't know. We're the pros at this kind of stuff. He's the amateur. Well, they're finding out that President Trump knows how to play politics, and he's playing them. He's outplaying them big time, or big league, as he would say. So he is putting all the pressure on them. He also understands that the Democrats cannot, because of the pressure they'll receive from big donors and from unions, cannot walk away from a infrastructure $1 trillion plan he has for infrastructure rebuilding. They are locked in. So Trump is going to be working also with Nancy and Chuck, getting the votes he needs for his infrastructure project. As far as the tax reform and tax cuts, he's put the ball squarely in the court of the Never Trump Republicans, who are facing a very difficult situation right now. They've got 16 weeks, my friends. 16 weeks. In the next 16 weeks before the Christmas break, they better produce. They better produce something on tax reform and tax cuts. If they do not, they'll be coming into the first quarter of the year looking at the primaries, having failed on Obamacare, repeal and replace, having been proven to be liars. They will have failed on tax reform and tax cuts, which they've been promising forever. And this will allow their primary opponents to cut them to threads. As we can already see, the president has no problem whatsoever endorsing primary challengers to sitting Republicans. In fact, I think he enjoys it. I think he's looking forward to doing a whole lot of that in the spring, and these never-Trump Republicans are going to give him every bit of the ammunition that he needs. He knows they hate him so bad that they're going to cut off their own nose to spite their face, and he's going to make them pay in the spring. Believe me. This is brilliant political strategy. Just watch it play out. It's going to be rough. It's going to be rough waters for the next 3 to 6 months. But I think that the correction is going to come. And Trump has studied his base. He knows where his base is at. He also has looked at the Democratic base, and he knows where they're at. He knows how weak the Democrats are. He knows they have an internal struggle within their party. He also understands a lot of those progressives are going to create a lot of problems. He knows there's a lot of old former Blue Dog Democrats. He knows there's a lot of union labor Democrats. He knows there's a lot of Democrats in middle America that like the idea of some tax relief, of tax reform, of a $1 trillion infrastructure project. He knows that they're also facing the same pain and suffering from Obamacare. He also understands that they, too, as common sense Americans, be they on the left or right, understand that you have to have a common sense immigration policy, which is exactly what he's going to give us. It's not going to be an extremist policy. He's not going to throw out millions of people. No. He's going to build the wall to keep the problem from ever recurring again. And he's going to reward those dreamers who've come to this country illegally, but who've come to this country and done the right thing. He's going to ship the criminals out, and even rank-and-file Democrats are going to be okay with that. I'm telling you, he is cooking up a huge, huge win. First in 2018, he is going to drain his own swamp there in the Congress, along with the people who support him. They're going to send a lot of these neocons, a lot of these anti-Trump Republicans packing. And then in 2020, he's going to have a landslide election, probably turning some more blue states red. I'm telling you, watch very carefully. You are watching a political masterstroke. This is what you're witnessing right now, whether you realize it or not. My good friend at the Piper Report did an excellent video. It's only about a 10-minute video. I should probably put a link up. Maybe I will. So, this is my take on what's going on, because there's a lot of people saying, oh, Trump's, turning on us or whatever. He's becoming a Democrat. Trump was never really a Republican. He's not, he was for many years in New York a Democrat. But he's a populist. He's not really he's a populist with a nationalist streak in him. He's not a rank-and-file Republican. Thank God. He's not really a Democrat. He's kind of where most Americans are, who have any common sense. He doesn't see the world in a political sense in left and right. He sees things like a pragmatic businessman, like a regular person, like you and I. He has a problem. He looks at the best way to solve the problem to get the best result, knowing that you have to do compromise and negotiation, especially when you live in such a diverse country with different ideas and all the different things that we have to deal with here. He is exactly the right man at the right time, at the right place in history to do this job. And I think he's going to be rewarded when he succeeds on a grand scale, which he's going to do. In the meantime, yes, holding people accountable for the crimes is what we talk a lot about here on TowerGate. These things will take time. I keep reminding you how long it took for Watergate, and that was just one little break-in and a cover-up. What we're dealing with now is much greater. The swamp is much, much deeper. The swamp monsters are much nastier than they were back in 1974, I can assure you. But just keep watching. We may not get everything we want, but I can assure you that Debbie Wasserman-Schultz, Debbie Blabbermouth Wasserman-Schultz, is on her way to jail unless she can find a bigger fish to drop on the hook. We'll watch and see how that goes, but I'm telling you, the Justice Department does not allow people who've committed the crimes that the Awans have committed off the hook, total immunity, unless they've given up someone really big and some really major crimes. They are not going to grant immunity to Wasserman Schultz, the Blabbermouth, or any of these other people. They're going to prosecute them. Hillary Clinton is going to be charged. Whether or not they offer her some sort of an immunity deal, which they probably will, I think they already have. She turned it down or whatever. But I think at the end of the day, the evidence will be overwhelming. I think she may be forced at some point to accept some sort of a deal that keeps her out of jail. I do think Hillary Clinton's going to be charged. I do think she'll be offered some sort of a deal that will keep her out of jail. But I imagine it could involve some fines or something. But I'd be very surprised if they send Hillary to jail. They should. I want her in jail. You want her in jail. I don't know if Sessions has the stones to do it. I certainly would. Tomorrow, at the drop of a hat. But I'm not impressed with the eager beaver, the overachieving Jeff Sessions. He sees crime everywhere. There's crime here, there's crime there. Oh, I'm looking into them emails. I'm looking into this, I'm looking into that. Yep, you're looking into everything and ain't doing a fucking thing. So, we'll see what the hell comes out of that. But I'm telling you, my friends, Wasserman Schultz is going to jail. And Hillary is probably going to be charged. She'll probably get some sort of a deal to get out of the actual prison. But I think that the truth is at least going to be out there. And that's maybe the best we can hope for under the current situation. We'll keep following these events and see where they go. But I'm telling you, Trump is a genius, political genius. He's pulling a masterstroke. Keep your eye very much on the ball. These next 6 months are going to be quite interesting. We'll see what they do in the fall in the Congress, whether they cave and fold or whether they continue to try to obstruct. They're going to pay a heavy price if they do. I think they're going to pay a heavy price anyway. And in the spring, we get our chance to speak. It's TowerGate, day 190, September the 11th, 2017, Monday. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow. You guys have a good night. Bye.